Before we start learning about unicorns, I have to tell you about something awesome we just discovered. As a parent, sometimes it could be frustrating trying to get my kids to have meaningful conversations with me, where they open up and tell me exactly how they feel. Have you ever asked your kids how their day was just to get the answer, good? Or my favorite answer, I can't remember? Well, you don't have to worry about that any longer thanks to Yak Talk Back. Yak Talk Back is an Amazon Alexa skill, and my family is hooked. Yak is a very talkative mountain yak from the Himalayan mountains who is looking for people to talk to. In each conversation, Yak will ask your kids 3 questions in a way that will get them to answer with, get ready for it, complete sentences. He might ask something like, what's something you know today that you didn't know yesterday? Olivia and Noah love talking to Yak, and I know that your kids will love it too. For the kids, Yak Talk Back is a fun activity that allows them to catch up with their pal Yak from the Himalayas. For us parents, it's an incredible resource to learn more about our kids' days, what they've been up to, and how they're feeling. Yak Talk Back is absolutely free and can be used anywhere, even if you don't have an Alexa device. You can take Yak with you on the road and access it from a smartphone. And here's the best part. The questions your kids get from Yak change every day, so the experience is always fresh and fun. In order to experience Yak Talk Back for yourself, all you have to do is say, Alexa, open Yak Talk Back. It's now time to get curious. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to the Curious Kid Podcast. It is a listener suggestion episode week, and we have a fun topic to learn about this week. We've received hundreds of emails with topic suggestions, and it isn't often that we have a topic that is suggested by multiple listeners. But that's exactly what we have this week. Back in Season 1, Lunabella of Apex, North Carolina, asked if we can get curious about unicorns. And then we received another email in February of this year, and you wouldn't believe what it said.
Mailbag.
Mailbag. Hello, Olivia. This is Lily and her mommy, Ashley, and we live in Tampa, Florida. My mommy and I love listening to your podcast on the way to and from school. I know unicorns aren't real, but I was wondering if you could tell us why the idea of them exists. Everyone loves unicorns. It will be pretty cool to know how this popular, fictional animal got started. I am pretty sure there is a legend behind it.
Thanks so much for the suggestion, Lily. I love unicorns, and I'm so excited we can learn more about them today.
I feel like this episode is going to be pretty challenging because, as Lily said, unicorns are not real. Let's see what we can learn about them. What's the question of the week?
The unicorn is the national animal of which country?
Ooh, that's a good one. Countries have a national animal.
In the United States, the national animal is the bald eagle.
That's right. The national animal of our neighbors to the north, Canada, is the North American beaver. And for our friends down under in Australia, that national animal is the red kangaroo. Can you guess which country has the unicorn as its national animal?
Did you know that the word unicorn comes from Latin?
It sure does. Uni is Latin for single, and cornu is Latin for horn. So unicorn means single horn. Okay, so the history of the unicorn actually dates back about 40,000 years.
It started with the Siberian unicorn.
The Siberian unicorn was totally real. It lived with humans in the area that is currently Europe and Asia.
Did it look anything like what we think of when we think of unicorns?
Let's see. How about you tell me? The Siberian unicorn, or as it is called scientifically, Elasmotherium sibericum, that's a hard one to say, looked something like this. It was 6 feet tall.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. I guess unicorns could be 6 feet tall.
It was also about 15 feet long.
That's a bit much. The unicorns in my imagination are definitely not 15 feet long.
And it weighed around 9,000 pounds.
No way, forget about it. That definitely doesn't sound like a unicorn.
I agree. And that's because it turns out that it was really a rhinoceros. Well, do you remember our buddy Pliny the Elder from all the way back in episode 27, Curious About Dolphins?
I sure do. He described what the killer whale looked like.
That's right. He lived about 2,000 years ago, and he wrote a series of 37 books called Natural History. In those books, Pliny the Elder described things he or other people witnessed, from plants to animals to stars, you name it. He also described the unicorn. And this is what he wrote. I'm going to try to read it using my dramatic voice. The unicorn is the fiercest animal, and it is said that it is impossible to capture one alive. It has the body of a horse, the head of a stag, the feet of an elephant, the tail of a boar, and a single black horn 3 feet long in the middle of its forehead. Its cry is a deep bellow.
Pliny, you're crazy. My unicorn is white, has colorful hair, and it has sparkly poopy.
I know. Once again, what Pliny said about the unicorn doesn't sound right, and he was likely describing another animal. Let's think. Body of a horse, head of a stag, which is the name for a male deer, feet of an elephant, tail of a boar, black horn 3 feet long in the middle of its forehead. What could he be describing?
That sounds a lot more like a rhinoceros than a unicorn.
I agree. Pliny was probably describing a rhino, but his works were so well respected that they were considered to be fact for about 1,600 years.
So how did we get from this to the magical unicorn we know today?
This part is really interesting. There was this legend that a unicorn horn, also known as an alicorn, can heal. Until about 300 years ago, unicorn horns were very valuable because of their alleged magical healing powers. They were suggested remedies for things like measles, rubella, pain, and fever.
This made unicorn horns super valuable.
You bet. Only royals or very wealthy people could get their hands on a unicorn horn. Tiny chips of dust made from unicorn horns were even sold in pharmacies.
None of this really makes sense, Daddy. Unicorns never existed.
You're right. It turns out that people weren't really using unicorn horns as medicine, but they were using the horn of another animal that is commonly known as the unicorn of the ocean.
You're talking about narwhals. Narwhals are awesome.
And if you don't know what a narwhal is, you're missing out. They are closely related to beluga whales, but they have one very obvious difference. Narwhals have a single long tusk, usually 5 to 10 feet long, sticking out of its head.
The tusk is really a canine tooth.
That's the crazy part. It's a canine tooth that grows as the narwhal gets older. It can weigh over 20 pounds and it is hollow. It also spirals in the same way that we imagine unicorn horns spiral today.
So people were really using narwhal tusks as medicine?
They were. In the year 1577, Queen Elizabeth was presented with a narwhal tusk. Narwhals are the closest things we have to actual unicorns today. But all of this explains how the unicorn became a magical creature. For hundreds of years, people believed that unicorn horns can heal all kinds of diseases. They believed that rubbing unicorn horn on a wound would heal the wounds quickly. People even believed that a unicorn horn can help identify if a liquid is safe to drink or if it is poisonous.
No wonder why unicorns are so magical.
They are. Did you know that baby unicorns are called sparkles?
Nope, I didn't know that. Did you know that unicorn burps smell like freshly mown grass?
Nope, I didn't know that. Before this conversation goes any further, it may be a good time to answer the question of the week. Which country has the magical unicorn as its national animal?
The unicorn is the national animal of Scotland.
Scotland even celebrates National Unicorn Day on April 9th every year. National Unicorn Day is said to be a lucky day for the Scots.
It's also a special day for me. It's my half birthday.
You got that right. Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's podcast, number 85, on unicorns.
Great job, Olivia, and a great job to Lily and Lunabella for giving us this fun and unique topic to learn about. It's time to reveal another city that loves downloading Curious Kid Podcast like crazy.
Thank you, Los Angeles, California. We love you.
Los Angeles, you are so good to the podcast. We want to thank you. Send us an email to CuriousKidPodcast@gmail.com before the next episode comes out with a picture to prove you are from sunny Los Angeles, and we will give you a preview of a full upcoming episode before anyone else gets to hear it. We will even send one of you something awesome from the podcast. Please check out the episode notes to see all the fun ways you can interact with us while you aren't listening to the podcast. Stick around after the outro music because we have a fun podcast to introduce you to called Just the Zoo of Us. If you love animals, and you probably do because we've been talking about animals for the last 12 minutes or so, you are definitely going to want to check out Just the Zoo of Us. Olivia and I love the podcast, and it is lots of fun for the whole family. Come back next week when we get curious about allergies. Not quite as fun as unicorns, I guess. As always, thank you so much for listening and getting curious with us.
Hey there, new friends. This is Ellen Weatherford. Do you like animals? Do you enjoy arbitrarily rating things out of 10? Can you tolerate puns? If so, join me and my husband Christian over at Just the Zoo of Us for a weekly review of your favorite animal species. Just the Zoo of Us is available on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast apps. You can find us at anchor.fm/justthezooofus. See you soon.